Hello, everybody. This is Brian Begley with enCloud9. We are going to bring up the first actions you need to do when you first start using Dynamics 365. Most of the time, some of these things are very important and are forgotten about and then can cause problems later on down the line. And most of these items that we need to review are in an area called Personal Settings. It's up here in the upper right corner of your Dynamics 365 instance. Click on that icon, the gear. Open up personalization settings and you're going to see this really old school personal options box. From here, you can make a lot of changes to how you interact with Dynamics 365. So I'm going to go through the ones I always recommend my clients change to fit their users and get the best usage out of Dynamics. So first thing on the General tab, there's a number of settings that I usually recommend. First thing I want to do is make sure we set our default pane and our default tab. So what this means is when I start Dynamics for the first time and every other time going forward in the future, I want to get right to the most important thing that I work on. So if my focus is always going to be on leads, let's set the default tab to leads. Maybe I want to focus on opportunities. Let's set the default tab to opportunities. So what that means is next time I start Dynamics 365 sales, I'm going to open up in the opportunities tab. And I don't have to go to the sales accelerator. I don't have to see dashboards. I'm just going straight to work on opportunities. We'll see how that affects things when we save all our changes. Next setting is I like to change the records per page. What this means is every view by default only has 50 records. And I just personally prefer changing it to 250. That way I see more records every time I'm looking at a view of data. I'm doing a lot less scrolling and clicking to see the information I want. You should always have your default search experience set to Dataverse search. If it isn't, make sure it is Dataverse search. Set your time zone. This is the number one offensive thing that we see as CRM consultants. Generally, your default time zone is Coordinated Universal Time. And so what happens with that? Well, we're here in central United States in the central time zone. So we are 6 hours off of Coordinated Universal Time. What that means is if I'm not set to the central time and all my other consultants that I work with are also in central time, all of my records are going to show as being off by the 6 hour time difference, and it can cause confusion. So do set your time zone. Next is currency. I just set this. You don't have to, but I always like to set it because I generally work only in US dollar. So I want to make sure that that is set when I start into CRM. Next tab is synchronization. I generally leave that as it is. We go to the activities tab. The activities tab drives a few things. So there is the ability to show a calendar in Dynamics. I like to show my month calendar by default. So what I do is I'll switch this from day to month, but you could also choose to show your calendars in Dynamics on a weekly basis. So whichever one you want, this is just the default setting. At any time, you can change that once you're in a calendar to view it in another way. Also, always set your default work hours. I set mine that I work from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. This can help in assigning tasks to people and making sure that things are assigned to people during working hours. Once I've got the activities done, I'm going to slide down to the email tab. There's a number of changes I want to make here. First off, we usually want to allow other Dynamics 365 users to send email on your behalf. This allows you to be included in workflows that might do some automation of sending you a notification, for example. So I always check that. I always unselect this checkbox down here to automatically create records in Dynamics 365. So I'm going to turn that off. I don't want contacts or leads created automatically if Dynamics 365 does not recognize the email address in an email I'm tracking to Dynamics. A big setting here that you really should look at is whether you want to track emails in CRM automatically or if you want to do it manually. I would say never choose all email messages. You'll have every single email in your mailbox that comes through Outlook tracked into Dynamics. I would either choose no email messages, that way nothing is tracked unless you ask for it, or email messages that are in response to Dynamics 365 email. What that means is if I send an email to a client, it's tracked by me as I'm sending it out of Exchange Exchange or I'm sending it out through Dynamics, all of the follow-up emails back and forth between the client and me, those are going to be tracked as well. So I usually use this. This is the safest one. It won't overtrack, which is the most important thing to do. One other setting I like to go over to the Privacy tab, and I'm going to see set your error notification preference. Well, for me, the default is to ask me for permission. I'm just going to say never send error reports to Microsoft. Back in the olden days, we used to have error messages pop up a lot. I think Microsoft has got that under control, where as end users, we don't see the error messages when there's some coding error. Now, at this point, I won't see any messages asking for permission to send this to Microsoft to do whatever Microsoft does with error reports. These are the top settings you need to set on your personal options. I hope that this has helped you, and reach out to us, comment on our video, like, subscribe if you've learned something, and thank you very much for your time.